Counties are yet to receive funds allocated to them from Treasury. A number of counties are now grappling with imminent paralysis of their operations, with some even unable to pay salaries. Governors point an accusing finger at Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich. Treasury, on the other hand, accuses Parliament for the delay. So who is to blame? What is the way forward? And is this likely to happen again? Meanwhile, a new report by the Auditor General has exposed wanton pilferage of public funds by county governments. Mombasa and Kiambu counties have been put on the spot after the audit found that they could not account for millions of shillings in the 2015-2016 financial year. Now, the audit report reveals an explained variance between Mombasa County's financial books and IFMIS, that while the county recorded expenditure of 18.05 billion shillings in its financial books, the IFMIS records shows an expenditure of 24.95, revealing that 6.9 billion shillings was unaccounted for. That's just an example. In Kiambu, for example, Kiambu County budgeted for 180 million shillings for bursaries, but the county spent only 90 million shillings, where a check of 76.6 million shillings was signed off, but only 219,000 shillings could be accounted for, leaving a balance of 76.4 million unaccounted for. In studio this morning, I still do have Senator Aaron Cheche, who happens to have served in one of the committees of the Senate, handling finances. We also do have Honorable Dan Manzo, MP for Makueni, for this discussion. Our regular panelists, Charles Odhiambo and Mutegi Njau, are still in studio as well. Gentlemen, Senator, where's the problem? Yes, there's this report by the Auditor General, plus the counties are yet to receive money, and that's just a fact. What's happening?
Well, I agree with your general thinking that I think, and this is where, in my opinion, we should have begun the discussion this morning. Devolution is a silver bullet that solves for us many of these problems that we face as a country and the challenges that we are currently being experienced. Because let me, just before I go to this, the challenges that are experienced by a pauper in Makueni are the same challenges that are experienced by a pauper in Kericho County that I represent. And the only thing that can bring a difference in their lives is a successful implementation of devolution. That is why we must support it at 100%. Coming back to your question, well, I was a member of the Budget and Finance Committee in last Senate, and this is the mistake that you did. You do remember that before money can be disbursed to the counties, there are two bills that we must pass as House of Parliament. One is a county allocation of revenue bill and the disbursement schedule. There was an error, and this is something that we've owned up. We've even had to do a new disbursement schedule to an amendment to the initial county allocation of revenue bill that we did last Parliament. It was presented before the House last week, I think on Wednesday. We passed it, we raised the necessary numbers. It came before Senate, the new amended. You know, in the past...
So the error emanates from the Senate?
Yes.
So Senate is to blame for the delay in disbursement of money to the counties, to
some extent, I think yes, because...
Wow, that's a very honest admittance here.
Because if we passed a document that had errors and it was returned back to Treasury, if it was in another year, then this would have been corrected within a matter of days. But given the circumstances that this was an election year, then one, you couldn't raise, by as late as April, as early as April, we couldn't even raise the numbers to sit in that committee, because today you seated, somebody's out, they're battling out for the party nominations and that kind of thing. Yet that is around the time that you normally do this bill. Then immediately after that, people went into presidential campaigns. You couldn't raise. Others had failed on the party primaries, so they were no longer interested in parliamentary work. Well,
Senator, it's good that you've admitted, but that does not excuse the Senate for whatever they did. A simple error that now means that counties are paralyzed. Senate alone.
Is that so? Anyway, is that explanation proper?
No.
Because the story here is that the money was blocked because of elections.
No. Not true. That's why we did the bill last week. Go to the records of the House. We did County Allocation of Revenue Amendment 2017. That bill was before Senate last week. You reported it here on Citizen. We had to amend because of certain errors. In the past, the same thing has happened where certain allocations meant, say, for Makueni have gone to Kericho, and it becomes a serious issue.
And probably the question we should be asking, can such an error be stage managed for whatever purpose? Can it be stage managed?
No. Give us the benefit of doubt because of one thing. let me tell you this, and this is
We're dealing with politicians here.
No. You will realize this about Senate. On matters of politics, true to our calling as politicians, we flow with the political tides. But on matters devolution, as Senate, we have proved countless times that we are solid as a rock. We stand firm and we defend devolution.
Mutegi Njau
So
has been covering politics for decades now, and he doesn't seem to trust your explanation, Mutegi.
Yeah, the story here is that money had to be blocked so that it is not used for campaign. It is even CDF.
No, but CDF, I mean,
it has not been distributed to all the 290 constituencies.
Yeah, it's true. So
first, let me give an explanation, and this is
as far as NCDF or NGCDF,
even for the counties.
Yes.
What has happened is that we should not cover it up. There must be a problem because we passed the law both in both houses in good time. Yes. There must be a different story or a different problem at Treasury, and this is not only in this year. Even last year it was the same, and all the years when after presentation of budget, the whole of July there are no activities in government, and now there is a bigger delay with even 4 months or so, and it is killing devolution. I think we need to go to where the problem is. It may not be the technicalities in Parliament, both Senate and the National Assembly could not have delayed this. There must be a mechanism of making sure that whatever is for the counties, whatever is for development, carries on at all material time, so that you don't all sit for months and there is no financial activity going on in Treasury. I want to defend Kiambu and Mombasa for a moment. You know, if it is a case of bursaries, you must be careful to make returns. If you disburse, or like what we do in CDF, if you give students money, if you give checks, they must get a receipt from that school and bring it back to the office for accounting, and it must be forwarded in good time to the Auditor General. Otherwise, it will look like there is a big loophole or monies have been misappropriated. When given a little amount or so, you can be able to show. But what a lot of people don't do is they don't follow up the receipt from the schools, so that if you pay for a child's school fees, a receipt must be taken back and accounted for at the headquarters. But that notwithstanding, we have a problem with the devolution in this country, and we must make sure that devolution works. For the little monies which have been distributed, I can assure you they have worked better than it has ever done. There is a better development than it has ever done in history. Whatever has been there has worked very well so far, though there is a lot of corruption, there is a lot of misuse. Partly because this was the first time it was happening, and we believe in the future it should be rectified, because devolution is a good thing. Yes. We want to defend devolution. We want to make sure monies get to the counties in good time. The problem at the Treasury is that the minister in Treasury is not the one running Treasury. Treasury is run from elsewhere. You need to free, and this one it is run by the executive. Treasury is run by the executive.
So?
You know, I'm saying this because I've been in government before. And I worked in Kibaki's government, and I know how President Kibaki was very efficient. In fact, the salaries have never been delayed in this country during President Kibaki's time.
He didn't have devolution.
Even now with the devolution, there is no excuse at all to fail to release monies to the counties.
You do not buy the senator.
I don't buy his story. It's just a cover-up of the mess between the executive and the Treasury. Treasury has to become efficient.
What do you mean?
You talk about
the Treasury is in the executive.
It's run by the executive. And this is why we need constitutional amendments.
Fred, I think we need to have it clear from Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
The head of Treasury is part of the executive.
Exactly.
When you say Treasury is run by the executive, what exactly are you alluding to?
This is what I'm saying. You know, for the minister in charge of Treasury to move, there has to be some cabinet proceedings of some nature. And a lot of times what happens is he can be held at ransom at the State House, so that he has some things have to delay before he gets okays for this and that. And that's why you find a lot of changes are coming up, so that the finances can be made better. But whatever happens, devolution should not be held at ransom. At all material times, the governors must have their monies in good time. You can imagine Kenyans have lost 4 months of no activity at all at the counties. Roads have now been washed, they cannot be repaired.
Yes, you know, and Mutegi Njau alluded to something, and these are claims and allegations out there that Jubilee or Treasury was trying to avoid a situation where this money is used for the campaigns. Do you agree with that assertion? Bonamanzo.
The money was obviously used for campaigns.
But it wasn't released.
You know the reason why you are missing gaps is because you can't be holding money, say we are not sending it to the counties because we don't want it to be used for campaigns. You know, a budget is specific.
Do you think that is what happened? That money was, they delayed the disbursement so that this money does not get back to the campaign?
No. There's no way to get back, to get involved with politics. And if it does, it will be a misappropriation. And it must be, every money which goes to the counties or goes to the CDF is fully accounted for. And it has a mechanism of making sure if it's for a certain project, it is accounted for. You know, government has the structures.
Ideally,
Fred,
that's the ideal thing. But
yes.
Fred,
that's ideal.
Ahead of the August 8th elections, there was an allegation from Jubilee that the NASA-led counties were using money meant for devolution to spearhead campaigns for Raila Odinga.
What do you say to that, Sasha?
I don't think that happened. And even if you are to the governors, you know, some are aligned to Jubilee, others are aligned to NASA. It means whatever a NASA governor can do, also a Jubilee governor can do. Whatever any governor does with any monies is accounted for. We just want efficiency in government, and probably this is why we need constitutional changes, even to run treasury and the devolution much better.
Senator, those allegations that some governors allied to NASA were using county funds to fund the...
This allegation did even actually come from Jubilee Coalition. It came from within NASA itself, and it was raised by none other than by the then Senator for Kakamega, Boni Halwale, who rose and sought the floor of the House one afternoon and said he wanted it to be on record and be clear that the NASA leadership needs to stop its flippancy with governors who are within the coalition, because it was becoming very clear that all the governors that were impeached last cycle of governance came from Jubilee-leaning counties, and that pointed to the fact that these assemblies are keen and scrutinizing. But when it came to the side that were controlled by, say, ODM and Wiper, there wasn't a keen interest into looking at what the governors were doing. And that is why when you look at part of the party primaries and the kind of things that happened, there were allegations that were being thrown here and there. There was an example of Kitui, where something was said that the reason why a certain governor candidate couldn't, the then governor, couldn't be allowed to lose the party ticket was because he was sponsoring the activities of the party.
Senator, is it possible?
Listen,
as an oversight,
this must be explained.
These allegations that came from within your budget.
No.
Do you think, Senator, do you think that could be a justifiable reason for the government right now to withhold county money so that it is not used for campaigns?
Not justifiable, because within the constitutional structure, we have ways of calling these governors to account, including those who served and might not be in office.
But we've seen the Senate has not been very effective in that.
Because there are challenges, and these are some of the things that I wish that we'd spend more energy discussing on this morning. There are certain changes that we feel may need to be brought with regards to operations of the Senate and how we look at devolution overall. We have sabotage from the key saboteur of matters of holding governors to account is the judiciary, because every other time that we've upheld, say, the impeachment of where a governor has been taken through an impeachment exercise at the county level and then brought to the Senate, and the Senate has upheld that for sure he misappropriated funds, the only place they found solace is in the courts. We have a case where Governor Oparanya refused to appear before the Senate committee, the Senate PAC committee. He goes to court and gets an injunction, which now governors are claiming, in fact, this will be a bigger problem, and I hope when we resume work proper, when NASA gives us a membership to committees and we resume work proper, this is something that we must critically look into, because governors are waiving that Oparanya decision and saying we are no longer coming to appear before.
Are you saying that even these questions raised by the Auditor General with regard to the funds allocated to Mombasa County and Kiambu County, that the Senate, as currently constituted, is not able to question this, is not able to actually...
because governors won't appear. They are waving at us the Oparanya decision and saying, what this decision, by and large, it is a ridiculous judgment. What that judge is saying is that you call the CEO, you know, the CEO and CECs to come and explain to you, Fred, how that fund was misappropriated.
Fred, I was looking at
bizarre.
I was looking at the latest report from the Auditor General, and it has an appendix from a number of counties. The appendix is actually from the county executive, and it shows who precisely can be held accountable as far as the funds are concerned. It talks about the key management, that is the governor, the deputy, and the chief, the CEC in charge of treasury. Then it goes further down to say exactly who was moving funds from here to there. But back to what Senator is saying. One, we can't rule out malice as human beings. If a senator aspires to be a governor,
and that's the case in most,
and that is the case in Kakamega,
and also in Kitui,
and the same case in Kitui, and two, is the Senate telling us they are not able to do their oversight role properly, and three, probably even as we discuss this, I'm not holding forth for counties, but don't you think it's time we took with a pinch of salt the Auditors General's reports?
Okay.
Because one, we are looking at 2015, 2016, how many years ago? They say they have a shortage of staff and shortage of funds. These two houses are the ones in charge of allocating.
But Charles, are you suggesting that we just ignore such a report now that it has come to light?
It's causing a lot of misunderstandings, because I'm told of a case where the Auditor General's staff went to a county. They sat there for 4 days. Their per diems were over. They started taking tea with the county staff. And the fourth day, without waiting for receipts or supporting documents for expenditure, they move out and write their exit without having an exit meeting.
Okay. Gentlemen, unfortunately our time is up, but I'll give you each an opportunity to make one comment. I'm sure you've really thought about the issues we've talked about, the issues of delays. I think Senate has admitted that the problem emanated from them. We'll leave it at that. Senate has another problem, that they cannot question any of this issues raised by the Auditor General, and that presents a bigger problem, because then what next for Kenya? If at all the Auditor General can come up with a report, yet the only body that is mandated to actually check the excesses of the county governments is unable to do that. Gentlemen, your final comments. Let's start with Bwana Mutegi.
The issue of auditing in this country has a long history. You remember, even there was a time when the Auditor General was split into two. One for the government, and the other for status. The Auditor General has always been ignored in this country. He has made recommendations that certain people don't even hold public office, and completely ignored. In fact, there was one time when I think it was Dolo Haya or something like that, when the chairman of PAC in Parliament, they don't even take some of the reports. So it's not unique what is happening now, that the auditor is going to be ignored, and then tell you the money will be stolen again.
And this news piece will end up, it will be inconsequential.
Yes, and with impunity.
Wow.
In fact, we have seen the attempt by Jubilee to muzzle
the Auditor General's office
by not giving staff any money.
Okay, Charles.
One thing is clear. Time has come for Kenyans to take up their country. They need to control wanton misuse of funds. They need to speak up on laws that will help govern them. Because what we are seeing here clearly is, like Senator Cheruiyot said, it's an elitist battle. We are willing to dialogue. You come. The other person says you come. And yet the common Kenyan, like he said, the peasant pauper in Makueni suffers as much as the peasant pauper in Kericho. Despite the fact that these people meet at the cafeteria and have tea as a leadership, Kenyans must now stand up and take up the responsibility of running their country. They should tell the leaders, this is how we want our country to run.
And they say they take tea from Murkomen.
Yeah. And they take tea from Murkomen.
Senator Cheruiyot, final remarks.
Well, I think devolution is such a silver bullet for this country. It is one thing that will bring great equalization, that we cannot afford to entertain any thoughts that there are people who want to sabotage it. If there are quotas within government that maybe feel that devolution will not be supported, I certainly have spoken many times that I will never be party to such claims. But then again, as county assemblies, you know, they are the first point of call when putting the county executive, the government into check, and therefore we request of them that be diligent in your work, check on the excesses of county government, ensure that all resources that are being sent to your counties are being put to prudent use and not to fund political activities that are of no use. It is my sincere hope that finally when this disbursement of this financial year goes, it will not go to fund the kind of initiatives that we were discussing this morning, other than going to villages and opening up roads, ensuring there's medicine that is available in health facilities and things like that. So let us support devolution. And finally, we need to put our governors on notice that you may run as high as you may want. You may run and hide through the courts, but one day, one time, in this country, the law will catch up with you.
But it will not be the Senate that will assist us with that.
At least we will have done our part.
Yes.
Finally,
first, I want to say that you know, the courts just guide, you know, in the principles of what should be in the current law and in their own opinion, what could be the best way, you know, to handle a situation. Like in the case when you question a governor, then the governor should be accompanied by the person in charge of treasury in that county, so that you don't pin down the governor alone when you have the accounting officer. And I think that is a good practice. What we need is a situation whereby we improve the constitution, which is the initiative we have started through the People's Assemblies, so that devolution can be a reality in the country. Of course, there have been challenges in corruption. A lot of corruption is going on in the counties, simply because also the body which is dealing with corruption was not devolved too. So we need to devolve so that there is a proper check and we make sure that the funds are used properly. I want to say that this morning I'm joining CS Wamalwa, the Minister of Water and Irrigation, to witness the signing of a contract to build a Benga Dam in Makueni constituency called the Thwake Athi Dam, which is going to supply water to the people of Makueni. It's been a long, you know, work. For many, many years it was reorganized and started again during the time of President Kibaki. So what I can assure President Kibaki in retirement that whatever he started will soon be a reality, and the people of Makueni, Kitui will have water. He also proposed the Grand High Force Dam.
Okay. And President Uhuru's government is funding the dam. What do you say to him?
President Uhuru was then the Minister for Finance.
Thank you so much, Honorable Dan Manzo, MP for Makueni, Aaron Cheruyot, Senator Kericho County, for helping us understand the issues of the People's Assembly and the issues bedeviling our counties in as far as disbursement of funds. The fact is, the Senate admits that was an issue of error 5 months into the financial year, issues of disbursement of county funds simply because of an error. The issues of also checking on the excesses of counties, the Senate says it's still not able to, and that's a second admission by the Senator today. Very interesting times we're in. We also need to thank Charles Odhiambo and Mutegi Njau, regular panelists. My name is Freddie Ndebuli. Let's do this again next Wednesday.